Welcome to another episode of Founders Club. Today we're going to be talking to Carlos Figueroa, who is a top producing real estate agent who sold 19 homes in his first year and over 200 homes in the last 3 years. He's also the co founder of Big Block Realty Executives, and he's an active real estate investor that bought 7 rental properties in 2 days. In this interview, we're going to be breaking down how Carlos and his team are continuing to grow their business in today's market, some of his top real estate marketing strategies, and exactly how he bought 7 rental properties in 2 days and how you can too. If you have any questions, put them in the box down below. Make sure you judo chop that like button so other people just like you can find this video. And as always, if you like money, you like real estate, hit that subscribe button because this is the show for you. We'll see you on the inside. Welcome to Founders Club, the show for real estate entrepreneurs. All right, so very excited to be sitting here with Carlos, amazing real estate professional, now owner of a real estate office and really active real estate investor as well. So excited to have you on. Going to talk about all things real estate, how we're navigating the market right now, what's working well, and kind of the story of how you bought 7 properties in 2 days, because I think that's pretty amazing. Um, but why don't we just take it back to the beginning of how you got in the game to start out?
Oh man, back to like when I became a realtor.
Yes. How you got in the
So,
real estate game.
so actually, kind of similar story to like I guess a couple other individuals who want to become a realtor. I wasn't happy where I was working. I actually tried to get my real estate license, just screwing around, saying, "Hey, you know what? I was entertaining the idea of should I become a realtor or not." I go take the test and I missed it by like 2 questions.
Oh,
It was just two. And then where I was working, I actually liked where I was working. I was a manager at a rim and tire shop, something nothing to do with real estate, but I was already making 6 figures, so I was pretty happy where I was at. I love my crew. I love the people that I work with, so it wasn't bad. And it wasn't until it got bad that I was like, you know what? I'm not really happy where I'm at. I already I went ahead and I stamped my name at the store that made $1 million, and I was making all this money for a different company, as and I was a really good salesperson that I was like, where else can I work where I would get paid what I'm really worth, where I can actually go ahead and cash out on a big commission check, and real estate was the way to go. So
mm,
that's how I got started. I went back and I really studied this time, passed the test. Like I think they give you 2 or 3 hours to take this test, and I was done within like 35 minutes. So the second time I was prepared.
hmm.
Um, and I went into real estate. And my first year I sold 19 homes as a rookie. Um,
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I did 19. I didn't really have a mentor or coach. I didn't really get started on a team, but I did have somebody that helped me out in the beginning. My boy Eric Sanchez. I worked for Keller Williams my first year,
Hmm.
and he showed me the basics. And he was also not there a lot of the time, so I had to learn. I had already bought my first house, or my second home actually, and I had a mortgage, so not making it wasn't an option for me. I was already married. I had my first child, so I had to hustle and grind to make it. There was no other option.
So what was it, would you say that um how you had such a great start? I mean, 19 homes in your first year, not many people hit that. So what was the start of the career like that kind of had you take off like that?
So I think one of the biggest things is I already had a really good background in sales. I always knew that if you did the right thing, and when I mean the right thing is the right thing for your client, regardless of whatever you sell, like word spreads really fast. So I was already pretty well known because I worked in a lot of retail stores too. So I already had a background. I had a good sphere of influence already. I knew a lot of people, and my background was, hey, Carlos will hook you up. I
Mm,
was always the plug. I was always that guy,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
So then I knew like mechanics, I knew carpenters, I knew people who did tile, who did every type of job you can think of. Hey, Carlos, where can I buy a car? Where can I fix my credit? I knew credit repair companies, I knew attorneys, I knew everybody. So I was always like, my boys used to call me the yellow pages. So I knew somebody, right? So then once I started spreading the word, I really hit Facebook really hard. So then my biggest job, my first 6 months was letting everybody and their mama know that, hey, I'm a realtor. If you're looking for a house, call me, message me. And I was really spreading the word everywhere that I went. I remember one of my boys would be like, Carlos, even if you throw your business cards on the floor, somebody's got to look at it. They're probably going to pick it up. So I kept that in mind, and I just kept letting everybody know, like, hey, I'm a realtor. If you need something, let me know. I'm here. I'm here. And then I got behind the camera like this. I remember my first video. It was a house that I went to go see, and I remember I asked my wife. I said, "Hey, can you record this for me?" And I was trying to do a walkthrough, right? The famous walkthrough as a realtor, the most typical video you can do. She must have shot it like 10 times, and I kept on telling her to delete it, right? Delete it, delete it, delete it. I don't like how it looked. I don't like how it came out. I stuttered. Probably like I stuttered in the beginning of this podcast every time I get nervous. And finally, she goes, Carlos, like, this is the last one. And then I'm like, well, what can I do? So then I was like, you know what, go on a live. Screw it. That way you can't delete it. I was all
Ooh,
like,
no
so if
pressure.
if you're listening to this, try this. Instead of recording it, go on a live. So I went on a live that way. You can't delete it. You said what you said. If you stuttered or well, most likely people are gonna watch it just because you fucked up so bad. So then I went ahead and I did the live video, and from that live, I must have received over 100 comments. And I'm not
Wow.
gonna lie, the first 50 were your tias, your uncles, your cousins, and all your family members saying, "Hey, man, look at this guy, he's doing it."
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to watch. I had a lot of love and support from my friends and family, and all the comments were there. If I do a live now, I don't think anybody comments on it as much. They're so tired of seeing my face, right? So in the beginning, though, most of your friends and family support you really heavy, so that really helped out. And now, if you're listening to this, your friends and family are not gonna buy from you in the beginning. They'll support you, they'll talk about you, but they didn't buy from me. And that's the honest truth because they know you for what you did prior.
Hmm.
So they knew Carlos as the Yellow Pages. They knew Carlos as the guy that sold cars, sold phones, sold rims and tires, sold doors, windows, everything you can think of, timeshares.
Right.
So then that's what I was known for. So I wasn't known as the real estate agent. So of course my friends and family first have doubt because hey, is this guy really going to make it? So do you really want to buy your biggest investment from somebody that's brand new? They won't, but guess what? They will advertise for you. They will market for you. They
Mm,
will tell their friends and their other friends and coworkers, hey, you know what? My cousin's a realtor, my uncle's a realtor, my friend's a realtor. And honestly, I have love for them still. Like every single person that's referred to me, I try to show as much gratitude as I can and paying it back.
mm,
So by showing that gratitude, the referrals kept on coming. So my first year, that's where I feel like, hey, it really worked out showing gratitude. And then the service that I would provide, I would document a lot of it. So then, hey, when I went to go give keys to a client, I would throw like a full on party. I would give them the biggest screen TV that I could find. I would literally roll out a red carpet. We would do the ribbon cutting. I would have a video guy recording this.
very nice.
Um,
Very smart.
and then I would have somebody at the end of the video too, like I would have a real client give a testimonial. How was the experience? And I did that since the very beginning. And then that way, it's not me talking about how good of a realtor I am. It was the actual client
Right.
talking about how good of a realtor I am
Right.
and what was the experience. And honest be told, I walk away when they're doing this. And I even told my client, like, tell them the truth. If it was rocky, tell them, hey, it was rocky. If I was a bad agent, go ahead, tell them I was a bad agent. Like, keep it real. And I think that's how the name came about of the realest realtors was we're always keeping it real. Like, just keep
Mm,
it real. How is it? Is it easy? Fuck no. It's
yeah.
not easy.
Hmm.
Is being a realtor easy? No. Is even buying a house easy? No. Like, we make it look easy at times, and sometimes we can make it easy, but there's things that happen just like everything in life.
Right. Yeah. Wow, lot of really good nuggets there. I love how you leverage the social proof at the beginning. I love the idea of just go live,
Yeah.
burn the boats,
Just
and
go.
that way, like you said, like if you totally royally screw it up, you can still delete it afterwards. But like live is live, and then you just
Hmm.
kind of force yourself to do it. And I also like how you make the closing an event.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's a really good idea because obviously that's like the peak level of excitement for the homeowner or the new homeowner that's coming in. They're super excited. It's the day they get their keys. They finally made it through the entire process. And then you're there, you're rolling out a red carpet, you're making it kind of like a party atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's a great way to get them excited to give you a good testimonial, which then you can leverage for social proof to get even more referrals.
And not only that, like the social proof is one, using that, leveraging that is a big piece, right? But I think the second piece and the most important one that you can't forget is what experience are you really giving? To that client get a camera in their face and how that makes them feel is a big thing.
Mm,
Cutting the ribbon is like, hey, I did this. Like, don't take that away from them. They accomplished that. You're the realtor. Yes, you connected the dots, but in reality, who put the down payment? Who had to sacrifice all that time and effort to get their money up, to go through all those emotions? You're giving them keys to the biggest investment. Make sure they can feel that.
mm,
That's where you really go ahead and make sure that you did the right job. If your experience is not the best experience that you're giving them, they're never going to come back. Think about a restaurant. You walk into a restaurant, they have the best meal that you can have, and maybe it's the best steak. But if the waiter was a piece of shit, the waiter sucked, I don't care how good the steak was, you're never
mhm.
going to come back.
Yeah, it's very
So the
true.
experience for me is everything.
Mm,
So making sure that experience at the end of the day, and not just the day you give them keys, throughout the whole process,
mhm,
has to be that type of experience. Did you care?
mm,
And that's what my clients know more than anything. I think the biggest difference between my team, myself, and how we work is we actually care. Like
yeah,
we care about our clients. We're not just there, it's not just a transaction to us. It's how much do you really care?
yeah.
Same thing, I went ahead and I incorporated that into our franchise too. How much do you really care about your agents?
Mm-hmm.
Do you really care if they're succeeding? Do you really care if they're getting the knowledge? Do you really care about what's going on with them?
Yep.
It's an open door in our office. You know what I mean? In our franchise, you walk in, I get phone calls, text messages that have nothing to do with real estate at times.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Carlos, I'm going through this. What's your experience with this, man? I'm here to help. Sometimes all people need is somebody to listen.
Yep. Yeah.
So if you're like that throughout the whole thing, there's no way you won't succeed.
I love that because I do think by simply caring more than everybody else, you can already separate yourself. It's an easy
Yeah.
way to separate from the competition. Um, I want to circle back to the customer experience because I agree that that's extremely important. And the better you do with delivering that customer experience, the more they're going to come back for repeat business, the more they're going to refer you for business, the better testimonials you're going to get, all the things that come on the back end of that. So, what other tips do you have for just increasing the customer experience?
So it starts from the very beginning. Most people, when they first do, like, let's say either a buyer consultation or a listing consultation, are you really listening to what your client's wants and needs are? So most typically, when I hear realtors speaking to clients, is first thing that comes out of the mouth is how much money do they want to spend? When they're talking about what they're looking to buy, they start off of price range, monthly payments, how much can you afford, what is your credit score? That doesn't really matter in the beginning.
Mm,
First, you got to figure out what their wants and needs are. How many beds, how many bath, how many kids do you have? What schools really matter?
mm,
What part of town do you really want to live in? The best way that I can describe it is imagine walking into a clothing store or any type of retail department. And as soon as you walk in, they ask you, how much money do you have? What's your credit score? You didn't even know what I'm looking to buy. Why does that matter?
right.
Imagine walking to the car dealership and you're talking about, hey, you're walking in, and before they even ask you what kind of car you're looking for, they ask you, hey, how much money do you have?
Hmm.
What's your FICO?
It's not a
Can you
good
even afford it?
experience. Right.
It's not.
Right.
So then really go over in what their wants and needs are before you go and dive into what their pockets look like.
Okay.
Then if you really start off with, well, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and you start writing these things down, it shows again that you care. So then once the client feels like, okay, this guy's really listening and they're really listening, right? You're starting to identify where they're coming from. So then I always put myself in their shoes to try to understand their situation.
Mm,
Ask them about their whole situation, where they're currently living. What is it that they're looking to accomplish? What is the goal? If once you identify what their goal really is, you can really help them. But until you don't identify what that is,
mm,
then how are you going to help them? You don't know what they want. Same thing when it's a client who's looking for an investment. Ask them, Well, what is your goal with this investment?
Mm,
Because it could be a big difference. I mean, I'm looking on investments for myself. My goal is not just to flip money and make quick money. I'm looking for long-term investments.
right.
So if you're my realtor and all you're at telling me about is, hey, you know what? This one's a quick flip. I don't care for that.
Mm,
I'm thinking long term. I want to build wealth. I want to hold this. I'm not looking to make that quick turnaround money, at least for myself.
right.
Unless it's a property that's what I identified. But if you're my realtor, then ask me,
Hmm.
what is my goal? Then you're going to be able to really help me out. So really listening to your client and what their goals is the biggest part for me.
Yeah. No, I really like that too, because to go back to the investor example, like there's a lot of different reasons people invest in real estate, right? One is obviously cash flow, appreciation, but there's also people that buy properties just for the tax benefits.
Yeah.
There's people that buy properties because they want to Airbnb it half the year and live in it half the year. And all those have different approaches to your point. So, really peeling back the layers of the onion and getting down to like the core reason of what they're looking for, I think is a great tip.
Yeah, I think that's uh, and it investment listing wise or buyer wise, I think it's the biggest thing.
Hmm. Love that. Um, so what are you doing now to grow your business? Because you're year over year, you're growing, your team's getting bigger, and you seem to be doing really well, even though all the news is talking about how,
Right.
the market's down and this and that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
So what am I doing to grow which part of the business?
Let's talk about production side.
Okay. So it's kind of a funny story. I eventually want to get out of production. I have a team, so just a little bit more background. So I have a team by the name of the Realist Realtors. There's about 12 different agents in my team. And then I also own the franchise, which we have about 50 agents in our brokerage. And then I also do my investments where I have like a long-term portfolio and I do a couple flips here and there. And then also I have my personal production. So eventually what I want to do is lead production and focus more on the team, the brokerage and the investment side.
Mm,
But what I currently do, so a couple of things that I'm working on right now. Number one for my production, I think most people were looking into Zillow, Redfin, and I tried those as well, and they weren't my cup of tea.
just buying leads.
Just buying
Yeah.
leads, right? It wasn't for me. So then I went back to what worked for me. I do Facebook, I do Instagram, I reach out to my sphere, um, and then I cater a lot to my past clients. So I have over 200 past clients that I've helped out in the last 3 years. And so I reach out to them again. So like Thanksgiving, for example, I went out and I delivered a bunch of pumpkin pies and I just went and showed face. And honestly, it works. Number one, I love my clients. They're really they become my friends.
Mm,
So I took 2 days of driving around all of San Diego and I didn't have enough time to stop into every single house. The reason why is because we had real conversations. Every single client was like, Carlos, walk in. Let me show you what I've done to the house. Check
right.
this out.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you know what? Good thing you came by. My cousin wants to buy. What's up? Give him a call. Hey, my family member's looking to buy. My coworker's looking to buy. Hey, they're looking to sell their house. Can you help them out?
Mm.
So, I'm really heavy on relationships. And then number two, as far as like lead gen, right now I'm working on getting a billboard put up
Oh,
in
nice.
my hometown. So that's in effect. They shot me a text right now. So that's one of the things that we're doing now, farming the area a little bit heavier with the team,
Hmm.
leveraging the team to where like, hey, the exposure, the branding is there. So social media is one. Number two, we still farm the areas. We still do the open houses. We still do being seen. So my rule is before somebody's gonna buy from you, they have to see you 3 times. So for example, I had a client call me like 2 weeks ago and he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "I had already gotten your phone number from a friend." He goes, "My coworker actually you helped them buy a house." And then two, he's like, "I saw you on Facebook." And then I went on my Instagram and I saw you again. And that's I was like, dude, I gotta call this guy.
Hmm.
So one of the biggest things is you can call it branding, marketing, whatever it is, but people have to see you at least 3 times before they're gonna buy from you. So whether that's on a podcast, this could be a way.
Hmm.
Number two, if it's just on a Facebook post, if you're running an ad, I do run ads on Facebook and Instagram every single month, nonstop.
Okay.
And the biggest thing for me is consistency. I I work almost every single day.
Yep.
Probably 5, 6 days out of the week, I'm doing something. My Instagram is pretty active. Facebook is pretty active. And then you have the whole link tree. So you have YouTube, you have
Right.
TikTok,
Yeah.
you have Snapchat, you have
So
everything.
so I wanna dig in a little bit right here because one thing that I keep hearing you say is um, social media and relationships. We'll call that your sphere,
Yeah.
right? So it sounds like you're getting almost all of your business from the social media and your sphere. So let's
Yes.
talk about kind of what you're doing to generate that, right? It sounds like Facebook and Instagram are where you're most heavy,
Right.
and then what you're doing in terms of the sphere, right? You're doing the drop-ins with the
Yeah.
bringing the pies, but let's break those down a little bit deeper on what you're doing and how you're winning with both of those.
So again, on Facebook and Instagram, one of the biggest things I feel is we named our team the Realest Realtors because I keep it real on Instagram. I keep it real on Facebook. When I talk on Facebook or Instagram, I'm talking about what down payments really are. Everybody says 3.5%, 3% conventionals, no money down. I skip the bullshit and I let them know reality is this is how much a down payment is.
Hmm.
When I'm on Facebook, even on Marketplace, I put the price of the home. I put how much the mortgage is.
Yeah,
Why? Because I'm gonna go ahead and kick away all the other tire kickers, the ones that leave all those comments. Like Facebook is the worst one.
yeah,
You have 90, I want to say probably 80% of people of the comments on my Facebook are, this is ridiculous. Houses are so expensive in San Diego. I can't believe someone would pay this. This part of town costs that much money. I really don't care because those people aren't going to buy from me anyway.
right.
So I try to keep away from trolling people when I do my comments. I do have a weak moment sometimes, and I'll fire back at some of these comments, but I know it's not professional, so try to stay away from that. But what I do is I keep posting regardless, right? Like there's always going to be the naysayers. There's always going to be the people that say you can't do it. Same thing with those comments. You can't take it personal.
Yeah,
And the funny part is, I want to say 99% of the time I don't respond to those comments, and you don't have to. Like I have people that comment like, "Don't shoot the messenger. The listing agent doesn't put the price, the seller does."
right.
And there's so many other people that comment that you don't need to, right? So that's one. So when I go on Facebook and Instagram, the other things that I do is, believe this sounds really dumb, and it sounds like, hey, you know what? Anybody that's a realtor would be doing it. I actually post homes for sale. You know how many realtors actually don't have a single house for sale?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm like, dude, what do you sell? I'm going on your Instagram, I'm going on your Facebook. I don't see a single listing on your Instagram. So what are you selling me?
Hmm.
Just a bunch of
Yeah.
content?
And pro tip on that, put the price. Like you
Yeah,
already mentioned that, but like the amount of agents I see that do post and they don't put the price, like message me for the price. It's like just tell the price and then they'll decide if they want to message you or not. And then
exactly.
you're saving yourself time and you're saving them time.
So I post homes for sale. We post the price. I actually post what a down payment looks like. I post, hey, you know what? This is the average mortgage it would be. And I stay consistent posting them, right? Now, the second thing too on Facebook, now, I don't just post on my feed. So I post on Facebook Marketplace. Now, once you post on Facebook Marketplace, I share it to groups. So one of the biggest things too is I think that's a big takeaway that I learned going from masterminds was there's so many different Facebook groups. Your audience, let's say you only have 5,000 followers because that's your max. Well, then, if you just post it on your feed, then there might be only potentially 5,000 people. Now, based on the algorithm, only a
It's gonna be
thousand
like a
people,
few hundred. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So then what you do is you go to Facebook groups. Let's say if there's Carlsbad, Carlsbad real estate. Then think about Carlsbad groups that don't involve real estate, right? And then those have 10, 20, 50, $100,000, 100,000 members.
Right.
So then I grow my audience by posting into Facebook
That's
groups.
a really good tip.
So then if I post, let's say 3 or 5 groups, right? The average agent just posts once on that group and then they go away and they say their job is done. Not me. So the way that I do it is every single day I go into 3 different groups and post. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now I personally don't do this anymore because of time, but I have an assistant that's all she does for me.
Hmm.
So then if you think about it, there's 50, 60, 100,000, 100 members 100,000 members. Imagine everything they post. So by the time that somebody goes on there, yours goes all the way to the bottom.
Right.
So if you refresh it every 2, 3 days, and then on Marketplace, you can spend to be on top.
Mm,
So I'll spend $60 every 3 days. And then that way my audience grows up. And then whatever I'm listing that has more viewers. So potentially I'm in front of more people.
mm,
We said we have to be in front of people at least 3 times before they'll buy from us. So then if they're seeing me every single day, every other day, and then they're looking at different social proof, then it's gonna be there.
mm-hmm. That's really good. I love that. I just want to recap that strategy. So you take one of your listings, you put it on Facebook Marketplace. You're spending whatever 50, $100 to boost it to
Right.
get the extra exposure. Then you're taking that Facebook Marketplace listing and posting it in a bunch of, let's call it city name
Yes.
related groups. So if we're here in Carlsbad right now, so maybe it's like the I Love Carlsbad group and the Carlsbad Moms group and the Carlsbad Wine Lovers group and whatever other groups you can find, and you're just posting that in there. And then you're not only posting it just one time, you're going back, deleting it after it's been 2 or 3 days, and reposting it back up to the top.
Think about groups outside of the box too. Think about like let's say if there's a school nearby and there's that Facebook group that most likely they want to live in that neighborhood. Maybe they're renting a house
Mm,
and I look at schools that are rated like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. So growing up, especially like um so growing up in the hood, your family members sometimes still use your uncle, your aunt's address because your parents don't want you to go to the bad school that where you live.
okay.
They want you to go
Right.
to school in
Makes
this
sense.
area,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then you use somebody else's address so you can get in. So I took back like I feel like everything that I've learned uh being good or bad, there's some way that you can incorporate it into your business. So then I said, okay, well, if I use the same thing, I'm gonna go ahead and post on this school area because this particular listing would happen to be in the school district.
Mm,
So then, hey, guess what? That's who wants to live there anyways. So you try that during like May, June, when kids got to get out of school and they got to go back in.
yeah.
That's gold right there. That's when you're really gonna
Wow.
work it, right?
That's an amazing tip right there.
So those are all things that you can think outside of the box to be different. Like the basics work, and then you just got to leverage whatever else you can
Hmm.
and go ahead and implement it. But not just implement it one. Real estate works in quarters, so you have to know like, hey, what you did today, you might not get a result tomorrow.
Right.
But go ahead and track it. Track it for the next 3 months. So what I do also, I write down the numbers of okay, this is how much money I spent for this listing, and this is what I did. Did I get the result that I was looking for?
Mm,
So then that way, same thing with mailers. The other one that I do is I still do the old school way. I still do mailers. It's probably the least efficient way, but it just in my head, I always keep on going back to the three people got to see you 3 times. So I said, what other way other than social?
hmm.
I use mailbox power. I learned that from Oliver.
Yeah. Great tool.
So then I use mailbox power. I send out the mailers anytime that I have a listing or an open house
Is that to the neighborhood or to your sphere?
to the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I do it to the neighborhood and then I cold call the neighborhood. So whenever I'm going to have an open house, I don't do that many of them to be 100% honest, just because I already have pretty good audience and
Right.
good leads.
Yep.
But when I do it for my team or when I do for a listing of myself, then what I'll do is I'll use mailbox power. I send out all the mailers. And then I print out my open house flyers. I set up over 20 open house signs. And then after I do the mailers, I cold call. And I'll say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if you've seen my ugly mugshot. And I'm my usual goofy, dumb self. So then, hey, I don't know if you've seen me. I left you a mailer to scare away the cockroaches. Is that me, that guy on there? And then it breaks the ice.
Yep.
And then they'll be like, huh? It throws them all off. And then I'll be like, hey, well, my name's Carlos. I'm having an open house on the weekend. Um, but how you seen on my picture, Lord knows I can't eat any more donuts. So please come on by and eat some of the donuts on Saturday. Can I count on you for that?
Yeah.
Do you have diabetes or anything that might hurt us? If not, I'll go ahead and get some better donuts for
Yeah.
you. Because like I said, I can't eat anymore. And it throws them all off and I
That's
have
so
fun with
good.
it.
Yeah.
And then they remember me. If you call like the same agent, hey, I'm having an open house on Saturday, was wondering if you could stop by, they're not going to remember you.
Right.
So, how can you be different? How can you go ahead and separate yourself from the rest? I'm that agent that most people hate. I have my face on everything. My business card has my face. My open house signs have my face. My listing post has my face. I'm blasting my face everywhere that I can.
Mm-hmm.
My screensaver probably should have my face, right? So it's one of the things that I try to do, even on Facebook, Instagram, everything I do promote has my face because you have to be known. I know a lot of agents are like, oh, no, I don't want to put my business out there. I don't care. My car has a bull just like this black one. That's my logo. And again, I wanted to be different. So I didn't want to have like a logo of a house like every other realtor
Right.
does. So I went ahead and I did the bull, and a lot of people know us like that. And, hey, you're the realtors with that bull, right? The only
It's very noticeable for those that haven't seen it. It's a what is it, Corvette or a
yeah, it's a
Camaro?
Corvette.
Corvette, white with a giant like running bull on the side of it. So it's very cool and impossible not to notice.
Yeah, so I try not to do anything stupid in it, just because you would know it's me. So yeah, I mean, that's part of my marketing strategy and how I do and how I've been able to scale my business as part of my real estate production.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Really good. Those are some really good tips. Also, some really tactical stuff that I think the listeners can just literally implement in their business right away, which I love. So, I want to shift gears a little bit. I
Hmm.
know that you recently purchased a whole bunch of real estate. I think it was 7 properties in 2 days.
Right.
So, I want to break that down because I do think that in the real estate world in general, I feel like not enough real estate professionals own enough real estate, especially when you factor in that you're not only gaining appreciation, cash flow, but the tax benefits. The tax benefits are even higher as a real estate professional or a realtor in the business. So let's just kind of talk about what you bought and we'll go through how you did it.
I think I'm gonna take it all the way back, guys. So last year, 20, when was it? 2021, I made over like $600,000 in real estate commissions. And one of the things that I noticed is, okay, I made all this money and I was spending it and I invested some of it. But then I said, well, what now? I saved a lot of it, yes. And I was sitting on a big chunk of money, for me myself, probably not a big chunk of money for some of Oliver's audience,
Mhm.
but um, I said, what's next? Do I have to redo everything again? I have to re-hustle again? Like I have to go sell 100 homes again? Like this is really what I have to do? Or how can I leverage this money and really make this money work for me?
Mm,
I already had a real estate team that, yes, produces, and yes, there's some money that if I sat back, I could probably not do production and make a decent amount of money. But that's not what I wanted, right? I wanted to really grow. So then I started going to more masterminds, and really trying to see what I wanted to do. So last year, I go to Phoenix and I go to an event called The Science of Flipping. And it was by my mentor, Justin Colby, which wasn't my mentor yet. And I go reach out and I go to this event. I'm sitting there, and Justin reaches out to me during lunch. We get a break, and then he goes, "Hey man, so what's up?" And I'm like, "Not much. What do you do?" So then I told him, "Hey, you know what? I'm a realtor in San Diego, and I have a team. I own a brokerage called Big Block Executives." And he goes, "Big Block, I've heard of it." He goes, "Who owns the corporate one?" And I was like, "Sam." He goes, "Sam and Oliver." And he's all like, "Yeah, I met Sam." He goes, "He has like a funky last name, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, Korean." He goes, "Yeah, I can't pronounce it for shit." He's all like, "But that's the guy." And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm actually good friends with Sam." I'm like, "Oh, great." And then he goes, "Hey, man." He goes, "I'm looking to coach somebody one on one. Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Oh man, well, I am." And I was actually there to see somebody else, and I wasn't even Justin. I was there to see another speaker.
mhm.
But I'm like, "Sure." I was like, "I don't know much about you." I was like, "But let me look into it." And then I was like, "Well, the $1 million question I want to know is, well, how much is it gonna cost?"
Right.
And then he hits me with a really big number, and I'm like, "Oh boy." And I'm like, "That's a lot." I said, "Well, you know what? Let me think about it." And I was like, "I'll get back to you." And so like one of the things that I learned is don't make decisions on the spot. Think about them.
Hmm.
So then I go back home. Before that though, he goes, "Hey, I want to schedule a call with you, but my time is money." He goes, "If you want to schedule this call for me to follow up, you need to give me $600 right now. Zell me 600 bucks."
Just for the
Just
follow-up call.
just so that I know that you're serious. It's refundable. If you decide after the call that it's not worth it, then I'll give you your money back.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, this guy's a player. I
Yeah.
was not like, and I mean, guys, I've been a salesman all my life. So it was funny. He was hitting me with all these lines that I already know,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then I even called him out. Like while we were talking, I must have called him out like 3 times. I was like, bro, why are you trying to sell me? Stop bullshitting. I'm like, just talk to me like a real person.
Yeah.
I was like, remove this NLP, remove this fucking Grant Cardone sales tactics, and
When would
talk to
now
me.
be a good time?
Yeah, and I'm all like, remove that bullshit, bro. Talk to me like real. I'm like, I'm a normal human being. Stop selling me. So I see him like lean back, right? He leans back. He goes, all right, Carlos. So what's up, bro? And I'm like, look, dude, you got me. You do what I want to do. I know that I want to invest, and I know that I want to do real estate investing on a different level, and I want to learn from the best. And honestly, I went to Grant Cardone's event, and I don't care for Cardone University because it's not for me. It's just sales. Like, I didn't really like his sales tactics because it reminds me of used car salesman. It's not my style.
Right.
I was like, but you're preaching 50-50 right now. So you might have me, you might not.
Yeah.
He goes, all right, well, sell me that money if you're serious. And I'm like, I'm a player. I was like, I'll play. Sell them the money. And I leave. One of the other biggest things that I learned since I've been in real estate was to have a counsel. Having a counsel, for those of you who don't know, is having a group of people that could be three, four, five, maybe two, of people that you can reach out, call, and ask questions and see if it's the right thing or not.
Mm.
So then the best part of me actually buying this franchise was now I have people like Oliver and Sam on my council. So I get back home and I have Chris as well. And I talk to Chris and I'm like, all right, well, I want another opinion. So then I reached out to the second person on my council and then I was like, Sam knows this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey Sam. I'm like, what's up, bro? I was like, hey, I went and I met Justin Colby and I was like, I wanted to see if you know this guy. And he's like, yeah, I do. I know him real well. And I'm like, well, he wants to coach me one on one. I was like, what do you think? And he goes, well, what's the asking price? And then I was like, well, it's this much. He goes, whoa, that's a lot of money. And then I'm like, that's what I thought, right? I wasn't sure if maybe I'm too naive or ignorant, but I thought that was a lot of money. And he goes, I can get you somebody else that's a little bit higher level, and he'll probably charge you half of that. I'm like, not bad. So then I was like, okay. So then I called the person Sam told me about, and it was a mastermind as a group, right? It was a group mastermind, and you get to hear from other people. And I'm like,
Hmm.
that's cool, but I also want one on
The
one. I
one-on-one.
was like,
Yeah.
I want the one on ones. I was like, because I've been part of masterminds at our groups, and I want to be more one on one. Coach me up, like let's have these conversations. I want to go deep. So then I go back to Justin, and I'm like, hey Justin, so I'm gonna shoot it to you straight. I was like, I have this company I was like that charges me half of what you charge. And sure enough, he hits me with, well, yeah, but that's a group. That's not one on one. I'm like, well, I was like, group environments are well, of course. Then I had to sell on my part,
Right.
because sometimes I ask questions that I even think about, but that I want to know, and went back and forth. Long story short, Justin had me talk to another guy, um, another salesperson, and he was going hard too. And I mean, salesperson is salesperson. We know the tactics.
Hmm.
Long story short, I got my way and I paid what I wanted to pay, which I thought was fair. And honestly, Justin, hearing this, it's worth every single dollar. Probably the most expensive coaching I've ever done in my life. But
Hmm.
so, anyways, I get in with Justin, and we start the coaching of, hey, this is how you invest. And I start looking at a state. Um, I had a decent amount of money saved, but I wanted to stretch every single dollar. So first, I buy an investment house here in National City, and it was a flip. I had actually listed this house, and I couldn't sell it because of the condition it was in.
Mm.
So then I had a lot of investors reach out, but they were lowballing me super hard, and I knew what the seller's
Bottom line
bottom
was.
line
Yeah.
was. So I said, all right. I called that seller. I'm like, you know what? I'll buy your house. I was like, you know what? They actually canceled on me because I couldn't sell it for the amount they wanted. Nobody in their right mind would pay for it.
Mm.
So then I was like, you know what? I'll do it. I was like, remember how I said I'm the yellow pages? I got a plug for everybody.
Hmm.
I was like, I'll get my people to do it and it'll be way cheaper. Long story short, I end up selling and I make a decent amount of profit on it. I rehabbed the house. Put it on the market within 2 days. I accept an offer above asking and
Great.
turn around to make that money.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, um, we keep on talking about Cleveland, Ohio, about how cheap it is, about how you can buy a duplex or a triplex. And from listening to Grant, I listened to a lot of Grant Cardone. He would always talk about multiple doors, multiple doors, multiple doors. And I said, all right, well, you know what? I want multiple doors. So then one of the guys on my team actually flies out of Cleveland a couple months and he starts buying a triplex, a fourplex, a duplex. And he keeps on insisting, my boy Jose, he's on my team, and he goes, Carlos, you need to come out here, bro. Trust me, I know if you come out, we'll demolish it out here. And I'm like, all right, well, I was like, let me make some time and I'll fly out. So I fly out and I said, I got 2 days. And I was like, in 2 days, my goal is 10 doors. I was like, I'm not coming back. I was like, I have 2 days to get 10 doors. And I'm like, it's $10 is what I have. In the midst of the transaction, in the midst of me leaving out there, Jose throws me a wholesale deal and he goes, hey man, I got your duplex for 30K. I'm like, 30 grand? That's unheard of.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'll buy that thing right now. And then he's all like, you sure? He sends me some pictures. I knew it needed work. And I'm like, I don't mind. I was like, I looked at it. I was like, another 40K and I'll get to what I want to look at. 70 grand for a duplex? That's a steal.
Mm,
So then shoots it my way. I'm like, all right, let's go. So then I get this deal and I fly out there and I said I got 2 days. So the first day what I did, I went to go look at all the neighborhoods. I'm not from Cleveland.
right.
So then I go out there and I started driving around. And I go to the first one that I hit was that one that I was already in contract for 30K. And I go look at it and I'm driving to Cleveland. And just feedback, guys, right? I'm going to Cleveland. There isn't many Mexican people in Cleveland, right? So that's already like kind of like okay. Number two, um, I rent out a car from Turo because it was cheaper to rent from Turo than it was from Hertz, and I was able to get a Benz. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna
Nice.
get a Benz.
Yeah.
So I get this white Mercedes. It's nice. Not nothing too crazy. It was a C class, but it was a new Benz. And then so I'm going through this neighborhood, and as I'm driving, like again, guys, I grew up in the hood. I know what I'm looking at. I started scoping out. I was like, that's a trap house. That's another trap house. I was like, these goons on the porch, they're just, I already know what it is. So then I'm driving and I'm driving. I pull up to the house. I don't even get off the car. It was bad. And I'm a big dude. I mean, if you can see
Yeah.
on this camera, I mean, I ain't no punk.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, dude, I'm like, I am not buying this duplex. I was like, then I look, it was supposed to be vacant. There's already squatters in the
Oh boy.
house. And I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, and trying to get some of these squatters out. I say, you can't guerrilla these people out. Also, like, so you got to go through everything. And then, man, if you want to know somebody that knows about laws, it's always going to be that class,
Hmm.
right? They're going to know what their rights. So I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm not buying this house. So then I'm like, you know what? It was a learning curve. I said, I have to know my area. I'm like, I really have to know the area.
Right.
And as much as I can do over a website or over whatever you want, I need to drive and lay eyes on these
Yeah.
things. So then I said, all right. And that was really early in the morning. So I said, all what I'm going to do, I went and I grabbed the map. And I said, okay, I'm going to put all the zip codes of where I want to buy and where I don't want to buy.
Hmm.
And before this, I had already made a full list of properties I want to go look at. So then I said, all right, I started driving by these properties, these areas, and I was crossing out on the map where I said I wouldn't buy. I said, okay, this area I won't buy, this area I
Hmm.
won't buy, I won't buy here, I won't buy there, I won't buy here. So for 13 hours that day, all I did was drive around. I remember I didn't have lunch. I was just on one. I was like, I got 48 hours and I'm here on a
Yeah.
mission. Like
Got to
my goal
maximize every
was
minute.
clear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was out there. And then that night I get back to my room and I'm like, okay. I started going back down. Okay, I was like, this property I'll buy, this one I won't buy, this one I'll buy, this one I won't buy. And I had a realtor that I met out there, and I actually met a contractor out there too. So then I go ahead and I start putting offers on these properties. And then I was like, hey, I need you to move fast. These are going to be cash offers. Let them know I can close within 7 days. Let's get it. So then I look at a triplex that I really wanted. I go and I look at this triplex and I'm like, dude, this one's golden. There's a university right here. I was like, there's a clinic right here. There's a big hospital.
Mm.
And I was like, dude, I could do short term. I can do Airbnb. Like this would be gold. I was like, I could do to like nurses, whatever you're looking for. I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
this one's gold. So I end up buying that triplex. I go buy another duplex, and I started noticing, okay, east side of Cleveland. it's just kind of like East anything. I was like, of the cities that I've been to, I was
Yeah.
like, I grew up in East County. It ain't the best place. I was like, I have friends in East Side San Diego. It's not the best area. I was like, I have buddies from East Side Los Angeles. That's not the best area. I'm
Right.
like, East Side Cleveland is not the exception. I was like, all right, stay out of the East Side. I was like, don't.
Yeah.
So then I started noticing everything on the West Side and I started purchasing there. And I ended up buying 10 doors. Within those 48 hours, I put seven, no, I put all 10 under contract. Now, one of the properties I'm still working on because it's a short sale. So we've been
Okay.
negotiating back and forth.
Mm.
So that one I should probably be able to close next month. I bought a triplex, a duplex, another duplex. So I bought several duplexes and a triplex. And what I started looking at, I don't have an MLS system there, and I had the agent send me all the comps. But I'm an agent myself, and they're gonna send you the comps that you want to look
Right.
at. So I said, no, that's not what I'm gonna. I'm not gonna take your word for it.
Yeah.
So then Zillow was my best friend. I looked at the properties that I had sold within that area the last 3 months. I'm a realtor here at home,
Right.
so I know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Looked at bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and then even Zillow was my best friend to find out the comps and what it rents out for.
Mm.
So what I was looking for, I applied the Burr method. Every single property that I bought was in distress or needed rehab. So I was buying it for pennies on the dollar. Doing hard money loans on most of them. And then once I rehabbed the place, 2 months later, um, refinancing it into a regular DSCR loan. And once I do a DSCR loan, my mortgage drops heavy. So then the cash flow is there. Now
Mm.
that property appreciated already, probably about 40 to 50%, because what I'm looking at is 40%. So then that way, if I was looking for a quick turnaround, I could sell it. But for me is I want to get out of having to work this hard the way that I work right now,
Right.
so where I get a monthly return. Now, I like the nice things in life too. So I want to make sure that, hey, instead of going out and being like the typical realtor that buys the Lambo, the Ferrari, which I could have, I said, no, I'm going to invest my money. And the return on these investments will pay for the Lambo.
Mm-hmm.
That way I won't have to pull a bull on the side. It would already be on the front. And then I was like, it'll be paid for by the investment properties.
Yep.
And if something was to go bad down the line, I could sell these things and I would still be okay.
Mm.
So if you're a realtor and you're thinking like, hey, this is something important, think about it. The biggest commissions you make now. I lived my life the same way that I lived when I was working a 9 to 5. I wasn't overspending, I was saving.
Mm-hmm.
And then you invest into the right way. Then go ahead, then pop off, do what you want to do, but you invest your money into the right way.
Yep.
Instead of buying that huge mansion or that best car that you want to buy just because you want to brag, if you do it the right way, you invest into the things that matter,
Yeah.
then if you pop off, you're fine
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather brag about the 10 properties that I own
all
than
day.
right. So I get that. Um, so let's unpack that a little bit because there's a lot there, and I think that's really amazing. First of all, that you were able to do all that. So I want to take it back. So you got the mentorship with Justin. He kind of schooled you up on where to look and what to look for and how to kind of identify the deals you were looking for. It sounds like your exit strategy is really like long term. You just want to
Right.
build cash flow and hold these for a long
Oh,
period of time. So they're not quick flips, nothing like that. Um, you mentioned using hard money to buy these, so I want to break that down a little bit. But um, I think the first key thing there is that you were able to get out of our market. If you work in a market like a San Diego, LA, New York, Miami, Chicago, it's really hard to make the cash flow type investing work. Great markets for flips,
mhm.
but not so much for buy and hold long term properties. So you went out, which we've also done. I'm a big fan of like Arizona, Vegas, kind of like the not major markets. And you're buying multifamily, which I also agree with, because now you've got one roof with multiple tenants. If one tenant moves out, you still got cash flow coming in, you still pay the bills, all that. Um, but how are you identifying the properties that you're going after, right? I like the
So,
fact that you went out there and because I think that's huge. If you're going to invest out of state, I think you need to go there at least once
yes.
to learn the lay of the land. I don't want to be over here. I like this area. This area is great, has good schools. This area doesn't. Kind of learning that. But
So
let's take the next step on after that.
yeah, so I mean, number one, you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you gotta be willing to risk, right? So everything's a risk. So one of the biggest things is I think like fear drives most people. But then if you surround yourself by people by like the mastermind, then you start hearing their stories. And then once you have a coach or you have the right mentor, you feel like you got some backbone in the game.
Mm,
Because hey, if something happens, I have somebody to call and ask them, what did you do in this situation?
right.
So for me, that was number one. Number two, when I was looking for properties out there, I was reaching out to wholesalers. I was reaching out. The hardest part when it comes to investments, whether it's a flip, whether it's any type of property, is locating the property, finding it, right? So the same way that I do my lead generation on Facebook Marketplace, I went out and I looked out for every single Facebook group in Ohio.
Mm,
So then before I headed out there, I posted, I actually grabbed, you know how there's a background on Facebook for when you're writing something?
yep.
I used the turd one and then I put I buy crappy houses.
Amazing.
So then it seeks out attention and then it stands out. Again, remember, how can you stand out? So I went ahead and I used that background and I put, hey, I buy crappy homes. I'm looking for duplexes or triplexes only on the west side of Cleveland.
Nice.
So then instead of me seeking out, I started getting a bunch of in. So then I started getting messaged by different agents, wholesalers, and I started looking at them. I said, okay, well, I started lowballing everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? This is what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yes, no. Some of them, like that triplex I really want. I overpaid. It was just an ego buy. I wanted that triplex
Yeah.
because of the location.
Right.
Um, it was already that one was already done. So I was thinking, hey, I'll buy this one. It's probably the one that I spent the most money on. But it was an ego thing. I really liked the house. It was
Mm-hmm.
just me being dumb. I let emotion get to me and I got all excited and I'm like, oh, had vaulted ceilings. It was a badass house. And I'm like, all right, let me get it. So one of the things you got to remove the emotion. You have to be like Oliver. You have to be really black and white. And it's remove the emotion side of it. Look at numbers and numbers don't lie. And then the second part of it is contractors are a big part. So then I reached out again to my council that I had in Cleveland. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, well, what's your experience been with these contractors? Then I reached out to part of my council again was Justin. I said, hey, man, so how do I know when a contractor, because this isn't my city, I'm not going to be here every day.
Right.
How do I know which is a good contractor, which one's a bad one, other than just Google reviews and Yelp reviews? And he taught me this. He said, okay, this is what I want you to do. He goes, I want you to meet three different contractors at every location that you're going to buy. I said, okay, all three? He goes, yeah. I'm like, at the same time or different time? Doesn't matter. He goes, go ahead and have all three. He goes, you're going to get three different bids on this property. He goes, the lowest one is the bullshit. They just want the job.
Right.
They're going to upsell you down the line, or it's not going to be a good job.
Right.
The way that Brad Lee says the triangle, right? If it's good, fast, it's not cheap.
Yep.
If it's cheap
And
and
fast, it's
fast,
not
it's not
good.
good. So then I said, okay. So then I was all like, and I was like, so then do I choose the highest one? He goes, no. He goes, the highest one is probably two things. Either better than what you need, or number two, they're so busy, they're just giving you a high number just because they don't want the job.
Mm,
He goes, so that middle bid is going to be your best option. So I ended up building a relationship with a contractor out there, and he's been doing all the work for my properties. Now to be honest, I don't do three bids anymore. He's my go-to because he's been doing a good job on all
right.
my homes. So I trust
That's
him.
great.
Best part is his wife actually owns a management company, so then she
I'm
manages
not
his.
even
He
here.
does the work, so
Yeah.
then I'm good. So if something goes bad, calls him, gets taken care of. Now, everything's not a success story. Everything's not as easy. I bought a house yesterday. I closed on yesterday. And I said, okay, ten doors was the goal for 2023. I mean, 2022, 2023 has to be at least 10 or 20. So I'll be honest, it's 20, it's the doors that I want to achieve this year.
Okay.
So I started off, I said, all right, well, January, that means I got to do at least two doors. I was like, two doors a month, that's 24. I was like, that's easy. So I buy this house yesterday and I call Benny's the contract and I'm like, hey Benny, I want you to FaceTime me once you're inside of the house. I want to make sure everything is fine. He goes in, he goes, the house is fine. And I'm like, but what's wrong? I was like, yeah, what's the
But
catch? He goes, "Let me show you the basement." There was about 4 feet of water
Oh,
in the basement.
wow.
And I'm like, what the hell's that? He goes, it was been so cold, he goes, that the pipes bursted.
And no
He
one was there to
goes, nobody was there to
notice.
shut it down. So
Wow.
he goes, I'm shutting it down now. He's like, I'll take care of it. And this house I bought too because it was supposed to be a walk in the park. This was just touch up paint, call it a day, and rent it out. It'll be rent ready within a week. Sure enough, things happen.
Surprise. Yeah.
But you know what? I prep for things like this. Like I already know, like, hey, you know what? Things can happen. I don't count my eggs till they hatch. And I said, okay, well, go ahead, identify, go look at it. So it, it's not the hand that you're dealt. It's how you deal that hand.
Mm,
That's everything, right? Like I could have been like, oh, this fucking sucks. I'm not buying anything else anymore. Like it's the struggle. Get over it. Oh well. The screw your pity party. Like go get some more. Like this is part of it. It's a
that's
challenge. Go ahead, challenge accepted. Let's go. So one of the biggest things is that, and that's gonna happen in investments. That's gonna happen in real estate. That's gonna happen in anything that you do. Is how are you gonna go ahead and take on those challenges? Like, are you gonna take on head first? I was like, fix it. So good thing is Benny called me and goes, hey, I'm not gonna go home. He goes and get my tools. I'm just gonna go to Home Depot. I'm gonna go grab some boots and I'm gonna shut off the water. And he goes, and I'll get jamming on it. Carlos, I'll be done in 2, 3 weeks.
great.
I'm like, it's not that bad. By
Yeah.
February 1st, that house was most likely, I'm like, once you fix the pipe, I was like, start advertising. Once it's painted, I was like, start marketing so we can get it rented out. And I was like, we'll finish the work from here to February.
Mm, yeah. That's really good. Uh, One thing that you said that I really like, and I think this is a two-part tip, is when you were trying to identify the properties, you went into the Facebook groups in advance, which I think is a mega pro tip. Go into the real estate related groups. I'm sure there's Real Estate Investing Cleveland, Real Estate
Yes.
Investors Cleveland,
Yes.
Cleveland Real Estate Investors Group. There's probably 30 different
Yeah, there's
groups.
there's a
You go in there and you just start posting, hey, I'm looking to buy this type of property in this type of area. And like you said, the agents, the wholesalers, all those guys, they'll just start sending you deals to look at
yes.
that are generally off market. Some will be on market, but some will be off market. So that's a great pro tip. The other thing that you mentioned is just the importance of like having the coach or someone there. In your case, you spent a lot of money to get that coach. I
Mm,
think another pro tip is if you identify a deal, you can go through these Facebook groups, find an investor that's already doing those types of deals in that market
right.
and bring it to them and say, hey, let's 50-50 on this. Because now you've got a mentor and you don't have to pay the big sum of money. Now, you don't make as much money, but it's another way to get that
Yes.
coaching that you need to kind of have the confidence to do those deals.
It takes money to make money.
Mm.
It's the biggest thing. If whether that's a wholesaler, whether that's a coach, that's a mentor, um, whoever you're looking for, a lot of the times you can reach out to people. Like you'd be surprised how many influential people, how many famous people that you look up to and admire, how many of them actually reply. If you DM them, like funny story, I one of the guys that I admire a lot on Instagram is Brad Lee. I love his podcast. I
Yeah, he's
listen to
great.
him almost every day. And I was looking at a deal in one of his podcasts. He goes, "Man, I'm looking for real estate investment all the time. DM me a deal and I'll see." And I'm like, "Bullshit." He
All
probably
right.
doesn't even respond. Shot him a message and I said, "Hey, I have this deal." He goes, "Shoot me the address." Shoot him the address. It wasn't the deal he was looking for, but he responded.
Yeah, that's cool.
I said, "All right, cool." I was like, "So these people do. So half the time, the knowledge is there. We just seek to go look for
Just got
their,
to connect the
yeah.
dots. Yeah.
That's all you really have to do. I mean, you got to get out of your own way."
Love that. It's a great tip. So last thing I want to wrap up with on these deals is the money part, right? Like how much are these generally costing? Are they generally cash flowing right away? And then how you're using hard money to buy them.
So then there's a lot of different hard money lenders, and I guess I got to be real serious with you guys about this one. So I used to hear people talk about you can buy a house with a credit card, you can buy a house with little money when it comes to hard money. Anytime that I thought investments, I was thinking like 100, 200 grand down. All these homes that I told you guys I bought with less than $100,000. So
Total?
total,
Total.
total.
So
That doesn't
100K,
include the rehab, right?
100K out of pocket got you
Yes.
into
Ten
contract
doors.
on 10 doors. Amazing.
Yes. So what I do is I have a hard money lender. that only charges me um, the 3%
Points.
points to get started
Yep.
for the loan. And then I pay the closing costs, which is very minimum. Remember, these houses I'm buying them for 60, 70 grand. So it's pennies on the dollar. Now, on some of these hard money loans, I'm even factoring in the rehab. So on some of them, they're giving me part of the rehab.
Wow.
On the others, I'm coming out of pocket for the rehab, which is the most expensive part. So I've been spending between, I think the lowest rehab right now on that particular property from yesterday, they quoted me 15 grand. So I have two right now that I'm rehabbing that they're charging me 15 grand because I did it as a combo deal.
Okay.
I was like, he goes, we'll use the same paint, same everything. He
Yeah.
goes, Carlos, I'll throw you a deal. He goes, you've been giving me a lot of work. He goes, give me 15 a piece, 30 for both, and that pretty much takes care of 4 units that I got.
Amazing.
I got another one that one was a little bit more. I spent 30 grand on that one by itself. And then I have another one, spent about 40. So the rehab is where the money out of pocket comes out of. And then you got to factor in. So there's a couple of things you have to factor when you're identifying a property. Number one is yes, the down payment and cash to close. How much money you're going to need to get this property. Number two, you have to factor in the rehab amount, how much money you're going to spend. Um, Good rule of thumb for you guys, if you guys are like in Ohio, $40 a square foot is what it costs to rehab. If you just want to ballpark something real quick, obviously you want to do an itemized list and really identify how much money you're going to spend. But if you want a quick turnaround, $40 a square foot gives you about the rehab budget that you'll need.
That's a good tip. Yeah.
And then number two, also think about how long it's going to take you, and always add on another month.
Hmm.
I don't care who the contractor is, how good they are, you never know. Things happen. I just told you guys about that pipe that was bursted. That wasn't part of my time frame.
Yep.
So then add on another month, and you're gonna have to do payments on these hard money loans while you're doing the work.
Mhm.
Now, the next part is also how long is it gonna take for you to rent it out? You have to market it. It's not like, hey, it's done, boom, you got a tenant already.
Mhm.
So what I always recommend is like 2, 3 weeks before you are finished with the project, go ahead and start marketing it. Hey, this property is coming up for sale. Just your iPhone, whatever you have, before it launches on the store, they market it.
Yeah.
So market it the same way, like if it was a listing, market it for rent. Hey, this property's coming in. First showing begins open house for this rental, so and so date. So I use a lot of these properties that I invest in, like if it was a real estate transaction that I'm doing myself. Um, so give or take, it really depends on the property you're looking for, how much money you're gonna spend, but you don't need a huge amount. Like if you're listening to this and you say, "Hey, I have 50 grand saved," trust me, you can buy your first duplex in Cleveland with 50K.
And that includes the
Down
hard money
payment,
to buy it, the down
yes,
payment on the loan, and the closing costs and the rehab budget.
yes. Now you might have to have with 50K you're gonna have to buy something that's more move-in ready, can't be like a heavy project. And again, guys, location's everything. So if you're looking for property, really identify where you'll get the most return, the return on investment, and
If you guys can hear that sound, the gardener decided to start working directly outside the door. So sorry for any interruptions, but we'll keep it rolling. We'll just talk a little louder.
it's my deal. So it's my deal one. So guys, more than anything, really identify the location, identify what the rentals go for in that area, and how much money you're gonna have to invest. Now, like everything, it takes time, just like a business. You're not gonna cash flow really heavy the first year or two.
Right.
Don't just concentrate on the cash flow. Remember, they're paying off your mortgage. So that place, it's not just the $400 you're making a month. They're paying the mortgage on it. So out of pocket, if you came out 25 grand, your return most likely that year, they already paid into that property.
Mhm.
So then think about what the next 5 or 10 years look like and how that potential rental income or cash flow could really benefit you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the key with these types of deals is they are long-term deals. These
Yes.
aren't they're not going to appreciate super heavy. It's really about getting to the point where they have a nice healthy cash flow and then maximizing the tax benefits and all the other stuff that comes with it and just sitting and waiting as your tenants pay down the debt.
The biggest thing, this is, I call it my side hustle. Right. This is a side hustle for me. This is something on the side. I live off my real estate transactions. That's my likelihood, right?
Hmm.
This is something on the side, so it's long term. It's something for later on. It's not right now. It's not gonna make me rich right now or anything. But while I'm building, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, a lot of really great tips, lot of actionable stuff. I love how you're investing and your investing strategy, and I do agree that, building cash flow in these more affordable, like workforce housing type markets is a great long-term play. And it's cool to see that, like you were saying, 40-50K can get you into one of these
Yeah.
multifamily properties with, 2 to 4 units, not a terrible amount of rehab, and they'll cash flow basically from day one once they're rented up.
Think about and last, think about those credit cards I mentioned. I heard of these crazy stories where they had credit cards where they just maximized their credit limit to 25,000. So a lot of the merchandise they were buying, a lot of like the not furniture, but a lot of Home Depot, Lowe's, everything they needed to rehab this house was on a credit card.
Yeah,
And then down the line, the mortgage payment, the rental income was coming in. That's how they're paying off these credit cards. So
it pays the
can you do
bills
it?
plus the credit card debt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you do it? Yes, you can definitely do it.
love that.
Do I advise it right away? It's a higher risk. For me, I don't want to go that route.
Right.
But you can do it.
Yeah. I love it. That's really great advice. Let us know if you go out and pick one of these up. I think that's huge. Couple questions I want to wrap with. And these are more quick questions, but tell me what you think it takes to be a successful cash flow out of state type investor in 60 seconds or less.
Number one, knowing the market. Number two, having the relationships in place, which would be those contractors and the lender. The lender has a big piece to it. And number three, going with the state of mind of black and white, remove your emotion from everything. When your emotion rises, your intelligence drops. Those are
Oh,
the
that's
biggest for
good
me.
right there. Yeah, it's all about the numbers. That's right. Love it. And then the other one is, what does it take to be a successful agent in today's market in 60 seconds or less?
If it was today's market, number one is how much do your clients know that you really care? Do you really show that you care? Do you really do what's right for the client? Because nothing is going to boost you up. I don't care how good your marketing or social is, unless you actually do right for your client. If you want to succeed, number one is actually take care of your client. Your client is first. I don't care if it sounds touche or how it sounds. Number one, take care of your client. They're going to be your biggest marketing. They're going to be your biggest branding. So if anything, like that's number one. 60 seconds, I can talk about that all day. Number
Amazing.
two, then, is make sure that you document it. Documentation over creation. So document what you do throughout the day. Document how you help out your client. Document where you go. Document the homes that you show. Don't just think about how you can create it. Stop overthinking it. People don't care for the glamour. They care about the truth, the
Mm.
real. So keep it real, guys.
Amazing. Love that. Love that. What a perfect way to end it. Really appreciate you coming
No
in,
doubt.
man.
Thanks for
It's
having
been
me.
it's been really awesome. If you guys have any questions, make sure you put them down in the box below. Make sure you join us on our Facebook group at Real Closers. And as always, if you like money and you like real estate, this is the show for you. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.